Welcome to week 0 of Phil Steele Plus Tour with selections. Up for you today, 5 free plays, even on a limited card. The main purpose of this video each and every week is to acclimate you to using Phil Steele Plus to get the most out of it, because there's just so much information on Phil Steele Plus. This is what I use as my personal website. I've been using it for years, and a few years back I opted to just turn it loose and let everybody use the same information that I use. And I just want to make sure you're using all the information that's on Phil Steele Plus as a user. More later on that, but let's start off with the game. And we're going to start off with Vanderbilt and Hawaii, game number 1. And the first one for the Phil Steele Plus Tour. And it's going to be a crowd here in Hawaii. They're talking about bringing in extra seats, so it should be a big home crowd, right? Well, look at this. TC Ching Athletics Complex has a capacity of 9,000, even with extra seats. I don't think Vanderbilt's going to be intimidated after playing in the swamp at Florida, after playing at Ole Miss, playing at Neyland Stadium at Tennessee. It's going to be a small crowd for Vanderbilt. So it's not an intimidating crowd. Plus, you know, it's a long trip, but they have been in Hawaii all week getting acclimated to this game. Now, last year was not a good year for Vanderbilt. And one thing that I love about Phil Steele Plus, if you take a look here, you see the red numbers? You could tell at a glance. You don't even have to see what team it is. You could say that's a bad team. Look at that. They lost every game. Red means they lost the game. Red here means they had under 300 yards offense. Red here means they allowed over 400 yards offense. Red is a bad rush defense number. Red is a bad pass number. Red is bad. Green is good. As you can tell, Vanderbilt's a bad team. But Clark Lee took over last year in 2021. He was a first-year head coach, a first-time head coach, and he had to learn the players' strengths and weaknesses. The players had to learn new schemes, and he didn't even have his first real recruiting class yet. They had some decent games. Look at this. Missouri, they only lost by 9. Ole Miss, they only lost by 14. South Carolina, they only lost by 1. They even went on the road and beat a pretty good Colorado State team, 24-21. Ken Seals is back. Mike Wright's back. Mike Wright's going to be the starter. They're an experienced team coming back this year. Hawaii, on the other hand, has been a good team. You see green. There's a decent amount of green in here. They've been sort of a middle-of-the-road team, but they've lost a lot. If you look at the top here, you see that they only have, on offense, they have 4 starters returning, and on defense, just 2 starters returning. They lose Day Hunter, their star running back. They lose Chevin Cordero, their star quarterback. They lose their top 3 receivers from last year. And if you look at the experience chart, I'll bring up the experience chart from the magazine. You can see that Hawaii right here, they only have 15.6% of the big play defense returning. That's number 131 in the country. Overall, they're number 128 on the experience chart. I recommend you use the experience chart heavy in the month of September, and then once it gets to be later in the year, everybody's got experience because they've got 10 games under their belt. So they use the experience chart early in the season. As you can see, Hawaii just number 128. And, by the way, their coach, first-year head coach, probably not ready for a head coach job right now, but they had to throw him in there because of the whole Todd Graham situation. A couple of coaches turned down the job. Timmy Chang took over. Meanwhile, Clark Lee is firm footing now. He's in his second year, and he's got a more veteran team. Look at this, number 38 on the experience chart. So they're a much more experienced team. They've got basically a lot of people back from last year, and they need this win. If Clark Lee's going to get things turned around, and he's talking big expectations for Vandy, then they need to win a game like this on the road. And by coming out here and spending the whole week in Hawaii, you could tell it's important to them. Now, I want to show you this. I think you're going to find this fascinating. We've got the last 45-plus years results. You can go back and look at Vanderbilt. Since 1976, you've got the spread on every single game. You can see here, starting in 2014, we put in the halftime scores. Halftime scores are huge to me. It gives you a real good idea of how the game was played. So the halftime scores got put in here. And totals. Now, if you're brand new to sports betting, there were no totals in 1998. They started to put some totals in 99. They put a few more totals in on 2000. They were just doing them on the marquee TV games. Even here in 2003, you could see there's a few games without totals, and then the totals came in on every single game. Well, we've captured them all. So you've got every totals number that was ever out there. You've got every spread since 1976, 45 years worth of results. This title here says 1976 to 2018 results. It's actually the 2021 results, but we'll get that fixed. Todd will make sure that's corrected on all the teams this year. And these will all look nice. We're working on them right now to get them up to date. But what I wanted to show you right here was that Vanderbilt has only been an away favorite twice in the last 8 years. And you could easily look that up here. You can look up the last 5 years, of course, in the magazine. You can look up the last 45 years here on Phil Steele Plus. But that one of them came in 2017. They were at Middle Tennessee State. They were -3. They won the game 28-6. They led it 21-0 at the half. So they handled the away favorite in that role. The other one was 2018, and right now the type's a little small here, but like I said, probably by next week these will all be corrected so you could see them good. But it says at Arkansas -1.5. Now that's on the road in an SEC game. They're an away favorite. They won the game by 14 points. So Vanderbilt, when an away favorite in the last 8 years, is a perfect 2-0. So I know you're probably concerned about laying points on the road with Vanderbilt, a bad team. But once again, we're in a really good situation. Second-year head coach versus a rebuilding team, light on the experience chart. Need a win. SEC versus Mountain West. There's a lot to like in this one at -9. It is, yes, -9 right now. So we're going to take Vanderbilt -9 over Hawaii. All right, let's go to another game. And we're going to go, what you do to move around here on Phil Steele Plus, you just go to the team pages, and we're going to take a look at UTEP against North Texas. So we're going to take the visitor and put them on the left, which is what I always do. And we're going to take the home team and put them on the right. We got North Texas is at UTEP. Now, a couple things I want to point out to you about UTEP. Dana Dimel, when he took over, he's in his 5th year now, but Dana Dimel, when he took over, was given carte blanche. They said, look, we want your team good 5 years from now. We don't care what happens early. And as you can tell, let's go back and look at his first 4 years, starting in 18. You see all this red? They went through some growing pains. And here they actually surprised me a little bit, getting to 3-5. A good start to the season, once again, 3-1. And then last year, they opened up the season 6-1. So another good start to the season. UTEP starts seasons well. They finished a little weaker, but this was actually 1 year ahead of schedule, getting them to a bowl game. And they played a good game against Fresno, nearly beat them in the bowl game. So it's a UTEP team that's clearly on the rise, playing well. Another thing I want to point out is in Dimmel's first couple years, he was just 1-11 at home. But let's look at the last 2 years at home. Here we go, 1-0. 2-0, 3-0. Once again, all you have to do is see the number green. You don't even have to look at the numbers. Green means they won the game. So 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, 5-1 at home. And here, they actually only had 2 home games, 1 and 2-0. So they're 7-1 straight up at home the last 2 years. Plus, the Sun Bowl. They haven't had a sellout in the Sun Bowl for a UTEP home game since 2007. This one will be a sellout. And unlike TC Ching Stadium, there's a capacity of 51,500 here. That should be a pretty raucous home crowd. Now with North Texas, just the opposite. North Texas, if you look at how they've done on the road, they're just 18-43 straight up on the road. So they do struggle on the road. And now you might be looking at this one game here, 2020. It was technically, let's look at the box score. And this is one thing I want to thank collegepressbox.com. They let us put the box scores up for every single game. These are up each week. So if you go back to this North Texas game, you could see that UTEP led 21-17 at the half. And you might be thinking, well, technically, I'm looking at the UTEP website. UTEP says it was a home game. Look right here. This is a home game for UTEP, despite it being moved to Denton, Texas. It is technically a home game, Maybe the schools counted as a home game, but hell, this game was played at North Texas's stadium. It's a home game for North Texas. So if you're thinking in 2020, UTEP was at home, no, they weren't. Even though the box score shows them at home, the game was at North Texas, and it was a good game. And North Texas or UTEP lost a close one, but once again, it was on the road, and now they get this one at home. Couple other notes here to put out. I've got UTEP rated higher than everyone else. I think they were rated 6th, 7th, or 8th by most folks. I've got them 3rd in CUSA this year. They open up the season strong. And then let's go back to that experience chart for a minute. When you go back to the experience chart, we see UTEP is actually number 7 in the country experience-wise. Dana Dimmel built this team with freshmen. He used a lot of freshmen those first couple of years. Now they're very experienced. And you look at what they have coming back. Gavin Hardison, back. They do lose Cowling and Garrett, their top 2 receivers, but they look pretty good at the receiving core. They've got top running back. The defense is back. It's a very experienced team here at UTEP. North Texas is fairly experienced. They come in number 41, but as you can see, there's 6th most experienced team in CUSA. UTEP is number 1. So UTEP starts the season strong, is strong at home. They've got the... and one thing, another key thing that I want to show you for using Phil Steele Plus is let's go here. And now here is this year's schedule. When you click on the team right here, it gives you the last 25 years matchups. And once again, color-coded green and red. Let me explain how this is used. This color right here means whether a team has won or lost outright in the game. So you can tell at a glance, this is UTEP. And we've got 5 straight reds there. They have lost 5 straight games, I should say, to North Texas. Is that a concern? Let's look over here at the home team. The home team is 6-0. They have covered. Now, if it's green under here for home team, that means they covered. The win and loss means straight up. So the home team is actually 4-2 straight up, but they've covered 6 in a row. And there's been 3 upsets in the series the last 7 years. This gives you the yards per game. As you can tell right here, this is your red and green gives you your numbers. This is what UTEP has rushed for, what they have allowed rushing the football. And this is on every single team all season. I'll click on a couple others for you. I should have clicked on the Vanderbilt Hawaii one for you, but that's how you use this. Once again, red means they win or lose the game. Over here, green-red means whether or not they covered the game. So the home team has covered 6 in a row in this series. So add it all up. I've got UTEP the stronger team. UTEP's a stronger team at home. North Texas is not good on the road. The home team covers in the series. I'm going UTEP. Pick them over North Texas as your second selection. All right, let's head to the third one for today, and we've got Illinois traveling to face Wyoming traveling to face Illinois. So we're going to put Illinois on the right. Click over here, Illinois. There we go. Brett Bielema, the head coach there. And for Wyoming, you put them on the left. And Wyoming is right there. And we're going to put them on the left. Now, Craig Bull's done a great job at Wyoming. But they are one of the least experienced teams in the country this year. They were hit hard by the transfer portal. They only have 4 starters back on offense, 4 on defense. Once again, let's go to our handy-dandy experience chart that's in your magazine. Use it for all your matchups early in the year, especially September. You see Wyoming's number 129 on the experience chart, very low in most areas. Meanwhile, Illinois, Brett Bielema's in his second year. They're all the way up here at number 68 on the experience chart. So you have the much more experienced team at home. Now, one thing I want to point out about this game, will it be important for Illinois, even though they have a matchup against Indiana on deck? Well, last year, they lost to UTSA right here, 30-37. And if you look at their record last year, they won 5 games, but they lost 7. Had they won that game, Illinois would have gone to a bowl. You think beating a group of 5 teams is important? They know that loss to UTSA lost them a bowl bid. And I mentioned they were experienced. Chase Brown, Josh McCray, both back at running back. Isaiah Williams was in his first year at wide receiver. He's a converted quarterback that's dynamic. He's now in his second year at wide receiver. And while they lose Brandon Peters, they bring in Tommy DeVito. And let's go to Syracuse real quick because that's where he's from and see how much experience Tommy DeVito has. So we're just going to click on Syracuse right here. And it gives you the individual leaders right here. You see Tommy DeVito started last year but then got injured. Tommy DeVito played here, and Tommy DeVito was a full-time starter in 2019. So he's got a lot of starts under his belt. You can click on the individual player stats and see how Tommy DeVito did in every single game in 2019. That's at your fingertips. You can go to 2020 and click on individual stats. That's the games that Tommy DeVito played in. North Carolina, Pittsburgh, Georgia Tech, Duke. You can see what he did in each and every game. How did he do on the road? You can tell. How he did at home, you can tell. And then here's last year, the individual player stats. You can see Tommy DeVito was a starting quarterback and then replaced right there and gone for the year. So that is at your fingertips on every game. Every team, I should say, all 131. Now for Wyoming, they lose Sean Chambers. They lose Levi Williams. They lose Xavier Valladay. They lose Isaiah Nair. Valladay left to Arizona State. Nair left for Texas. So they lost a ton of players, a ton of key players from last year's team, and they really have no starting experience at the quarterback spot. Just their starting quarterback transferred from Utah State and had maybe 1 or 2 starts over there. So no starting experience really versus a veteran QB, a veteran team versus an inexperienced team. And the thing with Wyoming, flip to your Wyoming page in the magazine, you can see that Craig Bohl is 29-17 at home, but just 13-32 on the road. So they play much better when they've got the altitude, the home field edge. They're number 129 on the experience chart, and just 5-8 ATS as an away underdog. Wyoming's at its best when it can run the football. Do you see the green numbers here? Generally, you're going to see their best games over here. The green wins came when they ran the ball the best. Well, Illinois has an underrated defense. I don't know if you know anything about Illinois' defense, but last year they only gave up 330 yards per game. In fact, last year, Illinois held their opponents to 55 yards per game below their season average, number 26 in the NCAA. Yeah, a 5-7 team that had the number 26 defense. Nope, excuse me, that's Syracuse. I was wondering, those numbers seemed a little off to me. The colors were similar. Illinois, they were actually number 44 on defense, holding their opponents to 30 yards per game below their season average. So a very good defense for Illinois, a good rush defense. They only allowed 3.8 yards per carry. If they take away the run, they're going to force an inexperienced quarterback to try to beat them. And Illinois also causes a lot of turnovers. So you've got that factor going for you there. Illinois is a team that's at home, needs wins to get to a bowl, second year, and this is a depleted Wyoming team, very low on the experience chart. Seems like a lot of points to lay at 13, but Wyoming's not a good road team and don't do well as an away dog. And if you look at how Illinois has started the season, they're 6-1 in their home openers. They beat Nebraska, upset Nebraska last year. They did lose to Purdue there, but they beat Akron 42-3. They beat Kent State 31-24. So they've done very well in their home openers. So add it all up, we're going to take Illinois minus 13 over Wyoming. Now, I've showed you a lot of these pages. I also want to show you that we give you the complete draft history on every team. Let's click over here and look at Illinois' draft history because it's clear. And it goes all the way back to 1937. That's one thing to look at when you're using Phil Steele Plus. The last 20-plus years leaders, this is all the way from 2001. Right now they're up to 2020, but 2021 will be in there shortly. But that tells you who every leader was for Illinois each year, the starting quarterbacks. And the individual player stats will be updated all season long, where they're updated Sunday mornings for you guys. So Sunday mornings you can get all these stats updated each and every time. And these stats here are updated all season long on Phil Steele Plus. All right, I've showed you a lot about the FBS. And by the way, if you want Illinois' history, you can go all the way back. Look at this, red and green, all the way back to 2009 on Phil Steele Plus. Individual player stats every game. It's all at your fingertips. This is what I need. I want to be able to look up everything all at once. It's all here on Phil Steele Plus. Now let's show you a little bit about the FCS, and I think you'll find this fascinating. We actually have an FCS magazine on the website. So there's no other FCS magazine out there. None. We actually have an FCS magazine on the website. All you do is you click to go to FCS team pages. I list them up here in alphabetical order because the conference has changed so much. It's tough for me to even remember which conference is in which team is in which conference in the FCS. But Stephen F. Austin is on the road here, and they're playing Jacksonville State. So let's line that one up. Jacksonville State on the right, Stephen F. Austin on the left. Now, easily, let's once again look at the fact that you can take the FCS rankings and go all the way back. You have complete data on FCS back to 2010. Color-coded green and red. And then 4 years ago, we started putting up the individual player stats. So now, if you want to take a look and see how any player here on Stephen F. Austin did all the way across the board, any game against any team, like here. Self is back at quarterback, and they're taking on Jacksonville State. Last year, he hit 26 of 47 for 305 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions at your fingertips on every single game. But here's the beautiful thing that you're going to love. We have a complete forecast on every team. This is your magazine right here. Look, it looks just like my magazine, except we don't have the projected starters, but this tells you everything about the quarterback position at Stephen F. Austin. It tells you everything about the running backs, everything about the receivers, the offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, DB, special teams, coaches. It's all there. If you want the abbreviated version, go over here to the offense. It tells you how the offense did, what they have coming back. With the entire starting unit coming back this season, this unit could have an even better year. They have their whole unit back on offense at Stephen F. Austin. You know that, and it's all here, how they've done. Look, they had 347 and 18 points per game in 18. Carthel took over. In 19, they went up to 363-24, and then 360, 226. And then last year, they got over 400 yards for the first time since 2016 and scored 34 points per game. Now you're an instant expert on Stephen F. Austin. We did the work. You're an expert on the team in a matter of minutes. You want to know how about the defense? The defense loses a pair of starters, but has 9 starters back and solid depth behind them. Well, this is a loaded Stephen F. Austin team. Now, look at this down here. While many teams were experienced last year due to the extra COVID year, Stephen F. Austin returns 20 starters this year and are extremely experienced on both sides of the ball. One thing to note here, last year, Stephen F. Austin, I want to show you something here. You know my article, Close Wins, Close Losses? Look at this. 6-point loss, 1-point loss, 4-point loss, 7-point loss. That's 4 close losses. Well, net wins, close losses takes into account the close wins, too. They didn't have a close win. They won by 36, 13, 14, 14, 12, 48, 35, or 45, and 10. So all wins by double digits, 4 net close losses. That means this team was 4 plays away from being 12-0. And look at this, plus 111 yards per game. Now, once again, I'm showing you one game. You can become an instant expert on every FCS team with all this information at your fingertips. Before I get to Jacksonville State, the one thing I want to point out to you is if you go to our store at philsteele.com, you can get Phil Steele Plus for the season for $99 right here. But you can also get this week's Inside the Press Box College Edition. I have all 14 games broken down, all 14 games. But all you have to do to get those is right here. Oop, it's up here. Let's bring it down here. Inside the Press Box, week 0 free. Use the coupon code at checkout, kickoff22. Do you see that? You'll get all 7 games involving FCS teams completely broken down. My computer forecast, yards forecast on every game. This is all inside Press Box. Gives you the computer forecast. I give you a complete write-up on every game. I could go on and on explaining Inside the Press Box, my weekly newsletter to you. But here, it's free this week. Check it out. All 14 games. I think almost all 14 games are on TV. And you're probably wondering, I don't know anything about Mercer and Morehead State. Well, get on there. Go to the kickoff, get your free issue, learn all about Mercer and Morehead State, and then use your Phil Steele Plus and learn even more about Mercer and Morehead State. But I'm just going to show you one FCS game today. Now, Jacksonville State's got a brand new head coach. Let me hit refresh here. It says, there it is. Rich Rodriguez is the new head coach. I actually went over the team with Coach Rich Rod, and they're going to be joining the FBS next year. So that's why I've paid a little closer attention to Jacksonville State. They had a pretty decent team last year, but if you take a look at their matchup last season, Jacksonville State won that thing 28-24. I wanted to show you a little bit about that game. The game opened up with a 55-yard fumble return for a touchdown by Jacksonville State. Then, after an interception, Jacksonville State went 12 yards in 3 plays. So they've got 12 yards offense. They have a 14-0 lead in the game. As it was, Stephen F. Austin battled back and even took the lead right here, 24-21. And Jacksonville State then went 75 yards in 11 plays and got a touchdown with, it looks like, a minute and 45 seconds left to actually pull that game out. But it was a game where, if you look right here, Stephen F. Austin had a 438 to 325 yard edge. So they had a big yardage edge, a first down edge in the game, and came up short. If you look, let's read a little bit about Jacksonville State this year, what they have coming back. So Webb is the quarterback this year. And one thing I want to point out about Webb, they lose Zarek Cooper, which you might think is big. But Zion Webb took over for an injured Zarek Cooper here. Let's go ahead and click on that. As you see here, Cooper was injured all year in the fall, and Zion Webb took over, and they had a pretty decent year. So they're not in bad shape. I'm not saying Jacksonville State's a bad team. They're a good team. I just like Stephen F. Austin a lot. I think they're a really good team. And here's something that you're going to find fascinating I wanted to point out also. Not only do you get the complete forecast, let's finish looking at this team. They've got, Zion Webb started. They lose their quarterback there. Okay, the only big losses for the defense are 2 starting DL. They're a veteran team as well. But as you could tell, last year I thought Stephen F. Austin was a better team. They are laying 3 points here. And one thing I want to also show you is right here, the last 5 years logs. Nobody in the country has spread logs on the FCS. But you want to know how teams do? Is it a home favorite, away favorite, how they've done in the series history? We've got spread logs. We've actually charted the logs. As you could tell here, there were many lines back in 2017. Places started putting them up in 18. We track them. We mark them down. You got them. Nobody else has spread logs in the country. So you want to know how teams do as home favorites, away favorites, how they've done against the spread in the series history? It's here. You don't have to guess. It's on Phil Steele Plus. And at $99 for Phil Steele Plus, guys, think about it. You're getting like 5 months of service of Phil Steele Plus. September, October, November, December, January. 5 months, that comes out to just $20 a month. Comes out to $4 or $5 a week, and you'll have all this information, the same information I use at your fingertips. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars getting this site updated, getting this site put into the place it is, and we continue to spend tons of money to update it. For $4 or $5 a week, you've got it. So my selection here, the one thing I want to look at, Jacksonville State was minus 33 yards per game last year. They actually played, and Stephen F. Austin was plus 111 yards per game last year. So add it all up, I think Stephen F. Austin's a better team here. They're under the radar. And when you look at Kobe Carthert, their coach, now up here it says 3 years. There, he's actually his 4th year. And the record here will be updated. Todd's getting to all those this week. By the time next week hits, we'll have all those updated. Probably by the time that this video shows, this one will be updated. But he opened up as a first-year head coach, taking over a team that was just 2-8. So he opened up slow. He got 1, 2, 3, 4. He only went 3-8 his first year. And once again, I'm not even looking at the numbers. All you have to do is look at green and red. Then all of a sudden they went 6-4 here. And then look at this. They had the 4 losses, all by single digits, all double-digit wins. This is an under-the-radar SF Austin team. I'm taking SF Austin -3 over Jacksonville State. And the final thing I want to bring to your attention today, and we do have NFL on here. NFL doesn't start for 2 weeks. There's some preseason football up there right now. But the NFL gives you a complete update. Take a look at Cleveland, for example. Once again, you could click on Carolina and see how many times Cleveland has played Carolina. You could see at a glance they're 2-3. You could see that the home team is actually 1, 2, and 2. There's been 2 spread ties. Here they were +4. They lost by 4. That blue means a tie over here, and that's your straight-up wins and losses. You could see that Cleveland has struggled offensively when they play Carolina. That's all at your fingertips. But it's just one of my favorite handicapping things I want to bring to your attention this week. I want to tell you this. I've not watched a single play of preseason football. I don't. I'm a college guy. I work on college 365 days of the year. I will say this, and inside the press box, I have an NFL guy that writes my NFL inside the press box. He went 22-15 last year. So hats off to Sean. He did a great job, and he's going to be doing your NFL write-ups again this year and giving you all that great information. I like 22-15 in the NFL. It's a nice record. But I didn't even talk to him about preseason football this year, and yet I could tell you this. I've actually wagered twice in preseason football this year, and it's because of one of my favorite axioms, and that is when you play on a streak, you can win many times and you lose only once. Well, how about this? The Baltimore Ravens now have 20 straight-up wins, and they had that coming into the preseason, and we're on a 9-0 spread streak. I think there's something like 18-1-1 against the spread in those 20 games. So just blindly, week 1, bet Baltimore. They win. They're -3.5. They won 23-10. Week 2, blindly, bet Baltimore. -6. They win the game 24-17. This week, they're playing, let's see who they're playing. They're playing Washington. They're -6. Guess what? I'm going to bet Baltimore. And let me give you my little roulette story, which tells you about streaks. One time I'm at the roulette table, and Black had come in, I believe it was 12, 13 straight times. And a guy comes down, sits down next to me, and goes, man, they're due. They're due to go red. I'm going red. And so I gave him my philosophy. You know, when you play on a streak, you can win many times, you lose only once. So he goes and plops down his bet on red, and Black comes in again. He goes, man, I'm telling you, red is due. And this went on for about 6 spins. 6 more spins came in Black. And then after the 7th spin, now keep in mind, he's lost 7 bets trying to break this streak. The same bet on the same red, and red comes in. He looks at me and he goes, I told you it would come in, yes. And he was happy as hell. Guess what? He lost 6 bets and won 1 to show that the streak wouldn't come in. All you had to do is keep playing Black. He would have gone 6-1. Yeah, this streak will end sometime, but why not just keep playing Baltimore till they actually don't show? So I'm going to use Baltimore -6 over Washington as my play on a streak. You can win many times and you lose only once. Next week will be the first full week of college. We got a ton of action next week. I think there's 49 FBS versus FBS games, but there's also a ton of FBS versus FCS games. I think there's like 32 of them. There's 117 this year. Become an instant expert on the FCS with Phil Steele Plus. Get my Inside the Press Box newsletter free. Once again, all you have to do is go to the store, and when you go to the store for philsteele.com, right there, you click on this edition, and you plug in this code, Kickoff22. You get this week edition free. You want to sign up to Phil Steele Plus, get it here for $99. But here's a secret, guys. When you sign up for the year of Inside the Press Box College or NFL or bundle, you get Phil Steele Plus free. So this is $169. If take $99 off that, you're getting it for $70. It's a great deal. I hope you enjoyed week 1 of the Phil Steele Plus Tour with selections. I'll be back with you next week on Friday with the Phil Steele Plus Tour for week 1. And thanks for taking the time to watch. Good luck this weekend.